this week's episode, we spend some time at the residence of ex-non-racial Saru rugby player Richard Tariq Britton and his wife Kay. We meet up with ex-Western Province rugby hardman Aslam Taufi. We listen to these old friends share some stories about their playing days during the apartheid rugby isolation years. Salam, Uncle Tariq. Should I say uncle because you look like you're my age?
Alaikum salam, Tabi.
Thank you for having us today and welcoming us into your home. So I saw your post on Facebook, and that's why I'm here today. It's sad that I've never heard of you, and there's other rugby players in our community that we also haven't heard of that were stalwarts in the SA, is it Saru rugby and Western Province, and I think it's a story that needs to be told. And I think from my side, seeing all your posts on Facebook, I just said I had to come and see you and speak to you about that story.
No, shukran and welcome. Really pleasure. Nice to have you here. Firstly, let's just get the name things right.
Terminology.
We call it, or I call it, the non-racial Saru. And the reason for that is more for identification purposes.
Okay.
At the moment now, the existing South African rugby body is called Saru as well.
Yes.
It used to be Sarfu. At the time then, we were called Saru.
Yes.
But that was before unification. So we're talking about a while back. We're talking about now 30 years ago.
Yes.
And for that 30 years now, I've been fighting this battle. Well, not me only. It's me perhaps now that's made it more public.
Yes.
But there has been other bodies and organizations that's been fighting for the recognition of our people that played then.
Yes.
Before unification. Now that is such an amazing word, that unification, because unification means the joining together of two bodies. Now, in our minds, there was no unification. It was a joining up of the Saru, the non-racial Saru, with the Sarfu to create the one body. And the reason I call it a joining up is because in a unification, it means both histories would be recognized and you go on as a new body. That didn't happen.
This happened in 1993, if I'm correct.
92, 93.
92,
Yes.
93. I remember those years because I was about 12, 13 when that happened. And I obviously in the 80s remember going to watch certain games of Western Province playing. And in my mind, you know, those were sort of my heroes in the 80s. Luckily, I had an uncle, Salman's dad, Nazim Murat, and Uncle Ghalib Hendricks.
Yes.
And even Maharaja Hendricks. They were prominent in the 80s in the Western Province setup. And I watched them as a kid. That was my first years. And then I remember when unification came, as we say it, they even had I remember there was a meeting at our house because Buta Yusuf Murat was I think he was the Western Province chairman or something before unification or at certain times. They had a meeting together and I also felt that even at a young age, my dad and my uncles didn't do enough to actually get it done properly because it was almost as if they were just joint Saru. They didn't really unify with Saru.
Look, the euphoria, you must understand, at the time then, Nelson Mandela,
Yes.
Democratic South Africa, sport unification, the euphoria, everybody looked at, and we were all hopeful that things were going to be done the correct way. At the time then, I think it was in
Ibrahim Patel, was he not
Ibrahim Patel was our president the non-racial Saru president.
Yes.
They joined up with Danny Kamen and it became the one body. I think they had the first year or two, they had a joint presidentship or something to that effect. Then after that, it changed a little bit. So at the time then, we were issued with Springbok Blazers, the Saru players, because I represented Saru, the non-racial Saru.
Yes.
So we were presented with the Springbok Blazer as a gesture of reconciliation.
Yes.
And there were a handful of the Saru players that didn't accept it, but the majority of the people accepted it based on the reasoning that things were going to be made correct.
Yes.
Since that time, that was it. Nothing has happened.
So it was basically just give them a blazer and there's your Springbok blazer, and I mean...
It created a lot of tension, and you can understand our people, and that frustration has led to a real bad feeling, like you can nearly go as far as saying hatred.
Yes.
I perhaps wouldn't go as far as that.
Yeah.
But it didn't leave a good taste, and hence that reason that you have so many of the people, of our current local people, not supporting South Africa.
Yes.
And the existing, I suppose if you can call it the white part of our population, cannot understand it.
Yes.
but the reason they cannot understand is because they don't know the history about us.
Yes.
If they'd known the history, they would be more, there would be a little bit more understanding. But because they don't know, and that is why it's that kind of passion that's driving me to make our history known. And I'm referring specifically to the non-racial history.
Yes. Let's take it a step back. You and I want to speak about you specifically.
Okay.
Your rugby years. Where did you start as a junior player? How did you progress through the ranks and finally, obviously, to the system where you presented your country?
Well, I moved quite a bit. I grew up as a child. I grew up in the Strand.
Yeah.
And my brother-in-law then, Gerald Hendricks.
Yes.
I used to polish his boots on a Saturday morning. He played for St. George's in the Strand.
Yes.
And he also was the lock forward for Somerset Board.
Yes.
So he was a provincial player, and I think there was a period that he was captain of the Somerset Board team as well.
Yes.
So that was my first link to it. And then I played a little bit of rugby for St. George's as a junior. Ironically, I played as a fullback.
Yes.
And I was quite a good fullback. Anyway, from that, since then, I moved a little bit more closer to town. I moved to Bellar. And then I played in Bellar. I went to school. I played a little bit of rugby, focused a little bit on cricket as well. But I probably played about 2 years of rugby in. And then after school, I stopped playing for a few years. Then, due to boredom, I heard some noises on a Saturday afternoon, and it was the Bellar crowd.
Yes.
So I went to go join them, and I played fullback there as well. I made the first team, kicked to poles and everything, and then the second year.
How old were you?
Probably about 21.
Okay.
21, yes. I just turned 21.
So you still played fullback at 21?
Yeah, I still, that was my position. Then the second year that I was there, the lock got injured. And our coach then, Mr. Boyson, said, "Hey, Britton, come here. You're the tallest in the team. You're going to play lock." I said, "What? I don't know anything about lock." He said, "Yeah, all you do is jump and catch the ball." That's how my lock career started.
Yes. So
then I actually made the Tygerberg B team. I think I may have played 1 or 2 games for the Tygerberg A side as a friendly.
Yeah.
But I don't have any official caps for Tygerberg. Then that was also a personal transition period for me, because that was the time that I changed. Look, at the time when I was playing rugby, I was Richard Britton.
Yes.
So I was Christian.
Yes.
Then I turned Muslim.
Yes.
And so I decided that perhaps I should change the environment.
Yeah.
That I was playing in from Bellar. So I joined
Province,
Western Province, and I went to join Young Stars.
Yes.
As a lock in town. And that was in 1987.
And who was your teammates? Was that the years of Blachang, and did you play with them as well?
At the club, the only provincial players that we had there was Salih Khan.
Yeah.
I call him Salih Poop Khan.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all know our players just by the nicknames.
Yes, by the nicknames, yeah.
And Faiz Richards.
Yes.
He was also a lock.
Yes.
So him and I were the lock pair. And that same year I made the province team.
Yes.
And then I made the Saru team that year as well.
Okay.
So yeah, that was how I started on this.
And then you had a career, obviously, as a Western Province player for how long?
I remained in Western Province at the Greenpoint Tackle 4 years.
Okay.
From 87 till 1990.
Yeah. And after that?
I was the first Saru player that, as they say, that crossed the divide.
Yeah.
At the time, then you must understand, the political situation was such that there were two complete bodies, rugby bodies. There was the black rugby body, which was called the non-racial Saru. No, the Saru body.
Saru body, yeah.
And then there was Sarfu, which was the white body.
Yes.
Those were the people you saw on TV every year, every week, in and out. You didn't see anything of us. So I was really very politically driven, I think, as were all of us.
Yes.
Rugby was an outlet for us. So, however, I think this is probably the first time that I'm going to be, and I've been blamed for being the first Saru player that crossed, because I went to go join Hamilton's
Okay.
in Greenpoint.
And which year was that?
That was in 91.
91.
Yeah, I went to join Hamilton's, and I've been ostracized and criticized for doing that.
Yeah.
Been called a sellout as well.
Yeah.
I've never made it public the reasons why, because it was not a political reason.
Yeah.
It was more based on what was happening on the field.
I think a lot of players of your generation has that type of look at happened in our community as well in Paul, where when that happened, a lot of our players at Vineyards also moved over to Collet for Paul, a rugby club, and they was also seen as sellouts by some people. I think the climate of the country was as such that decisions needed to have been made.
Yeah.
But it was probably a tough decision to make.
No, actually not. It happened at our last game that I played on the track.
Yes.
In 1990. And as I went over a minute or two before time, I went over and I went to go score a try.
Yes.
And the track's field is stunning, and I was sliding over the line, and I was laying there, and I was getting up. I just felt somebody kick me on the side of my head.
Wow. And against who was that game?
I don't think I should mention the club name.
Okay. Yeah.
Just for that.
Was
purpose.
it in a club
It was a
match?
club match. Our last club matches for the year.
Yeah.
And I got kicked.
Yeah.
And if it was probably the surgeon said if it was a millimeter deeper,
you could be dead.
I would have been a vegetable.
Oh my word.
Now, I was subjected to that kind of things at the track.
Yeah.
And it's not, you must understand, I never mentioned anything about this.
Yes.
I've accepted the fact people call me a sellout.
Yes.
I said, okay, rather that than besmirch the name of the unit that I was playing for because of the violence that happened on the field. It was hectic at times.
Yeah. Look, I'm not going to shy away from that. We have a lot of stories with, and speaking to my uncles as well with vineyards, it was hectic on the track. I mean, they said there were games where they had to run for their lives on the track as well, playing certain club games. So I can understand when you saying that we're not going to mention names of clubs because we weren't, Vineyards wasn't also innocent and the other club wasn't innocent.
Yes.
So we don't want to go into detail on that, but I know it was a violent union.
Yeah. I just felt I worked too hard.
Yes.
I was completely focused on my things. I was training like 6 days a week and doing things on my own, that type of thing. And I just got, in blunt words, I just got hurtful of that situation. I loved playing there.
Yes.
I loved playing for Western Province. It is still, I've now played both sides. Western Province team is still the only team that I can say that had that 100% team spirit.
Yes.
I've never been able to experience that anywhere else.
Big crazy camaraderie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the badge is the only thing.
Yeah.
And you go out there, you prepare to die for the cause.
Yeah.
It was like that. So then I went to go join Hamilton's, and I went to see the director of coaches. And I said to him, "Do you know who I am?" That's how I went into the
And
meeting.
he probably didn't.
No, he did. He has read about me. Then I said to him, "I want to come join the team, not to learn how to play rugby. I want to come join to contribute to the rugby.
Yes.
So I want to be selected in your first team first. If I don't make it, then you can drop me. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm a national player.
Yes.
And I want to be afforded that
recognition. Yeah.
Yes. So you will select me in your first team."
And did they?
They did. I said to him, and by that time I didn't even greet him. I went in and said, "This is who I am, and this is my conditions before we start with our meeting."
Yes.
I said, "If you accept it on that basis, then I will come join your club. If not, then I don't want to waste your time."
Yeah.
So he then said, "I accept." Then I said, "Hello, I'm Richard.
Yes.
Nice to meet you." And that's how and why I went to go play for Hamilton.
And how long were you at Hamilton's?
I played for Hamilton's for 3 years.
First team?
First team, yes.
Yeah.
And then I went to go play for Villages for 3 years. And then I went back to Hamilton's for another year to end my...
And how old were you when you stopped?
Oh, I may have been in my late 30s, I think.
Okay.
34, 35, 36. But then I went to go join... when I finished at Hamilton's, I went to go as a player coach to Primrose. And I finished my playing career because the last year of actual playing was... I coached, player coach for Primrose for 2 years, and then I took him up the division.
Okay, my name is Akina Britton. I'm known as Kenny, and I'm married to Tariq. Now, I've listened to Tariq over the years talk about this organization he was connected to, where they were trying to capture the history of non-white rugby in South Africa. And I've been listening to it for years and years and years. And then eventually I started saying, why are we waiting on people to hear your history when you guys should be responsible for your own history? You know, why do I keep on hearing that there are stumbling blocks? Why do I keep on hearing that we're waiting for permission or we're waiting for funding? Why are you not doing something yourself? And this is basically how the thing got started. Tariq then decided, let us do something. Let me get my fellow players together. Let me get other people of interest together, news reporters, old players, and let's just see what we can do to make this history of non-white rugby known. Now, I've never watched non-white rugby being played at the track or anywhere for that matter. I didn't watch any live rugby, but I did watch the other rugby of the other colour on TV. So I know players that played at that time. I know about the Devon Serfontaines and about the Rob Lowe's and those guys, but I didn't see a Richard or a Tariq Britton playing. I didn't see an Aslam Tofi play. I didn't see a Sally Fredericks play, and because I don't know these things and I'm married to a rugby player, what about the people that are not connected to rugby players or up-and-coming rugby players? What do they know about the people that played at that time? You know, why is there no recognition given? Why are we waiting for recognition to come to us when we are the people that's sitting with all this information? And so, yes, then Tariq and I banded together and we got some people and we extended invitations and we got a little get-together of interested parties. And at this stage, we are still battling. We are still trying to get the ball rolling. Well, the ball has started rolling, but it needs more momentum. And for that reason, we need to get more people on board. We need to get more people interested in making this thing possible. Because even the people that record this, for that matter, they don't know about the history of our people, of how they played. They don't know about how the spectators stood in the rain and watched the heroes playing. They don't know what contribution those people made. I've met various people over this last couple of years. I've met various rugby players or ex-rugby players, and it's people that I've never heard of before, people that I'd never seen in real life before. Like Aslam Tofi, I met for the first time, or I physically saw for the first time a couple of weeks ago. And he's such a big name in rugby. When I come amongst other rugby players, I hear about how good Tariq Britton was. But I don't know that. There's nothing. If I want to Google him, it shows me absolutely nothing. So I feel that it's important for the history to be told. It's important for the ex-players to come on board and submit their own history so that we don't need to do the research for it. And if they do that, then it's just a matter of us compiling the data and getting it on some kind of website or some kind of way that we are going to showcase all these things. And that is, I'm just devil's advocate most of the time.
Okay, this is an interesting little pic that I picked up here. I think these were the Western Cape SARU representative, and the one in the front here with the big broad smile is Stanley Rubenheimer. He's currently the coach of the Springbok ladies team. Paul True was the seventh, and that's Urban October. He represented Western Province as well, and the SARU team. Jacob Steemach, amazing, elusive player, and Jacob Steemach were like me. We are dual national players in that we represented the rugby union as well as rugby league. So I played rugby league and I represent South Africa, and the rugby league team are called the Rhinos, whereas obviously the white Springbok teams are called, or the white rugby players are called the Springbok side. This is just my lock partner, Ibrahim Hanif, still a very close buddy of myself, and I'm busy with a project at the moment now. This is the late Mr. Harold Wilson's book, SARU Indigenous. Mr. Harold passed away recently, and we wish his family and close people well for their life. My SARU tie, which I have, and obviously in 1997 when I joined Western Province, this is when I was capped, and this capping happened in Athlone, and this was my cap. I have still my SARU tracksuit. It looks terribly small for me now, but anyway. And then of course my pride and joy is my Saru blazer, which holds real honor for me because this is where my blood, sweat and tears and everything else is in there. At the time then, during unification, or just post-unification, when we were all in this euphoria, we were also, the Saru players were also gifted, if I can put it that way, the Springbok blazer as a token of reconciliation. I accepted the blazer because at the time then I believed that things will change. Sadly for us, it hasn't, and I'm referring to specifically the recognition of our rugby, which nothing happened to it, and that was that. Myself, Peter, Jooste, Chester, Williams, Johan Kapp, Robbie Brink, and Andrew Aiken. Adam Solomon was our coach, Jan Sherrill, and the dope, and there is Danny Robenaier, and really good player, underrated Dodo Bongo, and that was on the tournament that we went to play sevens in Scotland. And that was obviously post-unification. Post-unification also I made the Western Province team. This is the Western Province Newlands team, and that's when I met the captain, Tian Strauss. And when we eventually went for a practice at Newlands, it was the first time that I set foot on Newlands. My biggest opponent, and it's one I has obviously the biggest, one of the biggest respects for, is Gary Boshoff. Gary went on to become president of Northern Transvaal, as well as currently now he is a commentator for Supersport. You can see here on the drive against Eastern Province, and my good buddy who I regularly visit on a regular basis, Nazim Tofi. I'm still very much in contact with the Tofis. In fact, we're expecting Aslam to be here shortly, and yeah. So this one was the end of my career. I sort of finished my career with Primrose as player coach, and really tough to say that I took Primrose up one division that year. One of my Western Province teams, and here I qualified for Saru as a lock, but I think it was because of my type of play, and so they asked me if I would consider playing at number 8, and that was like manna to me. So yes, I've always played. I think it was my fitness, speed was one of my advantages, I think. And so when they asked me to play at number 8, I could release everything that I really enjoyed playing. When I joined Western Province was the time that you just retired. So the only time that I played against you was at club level.
Right.
And I can still remember the game that was on the B.
As
young stars, we always used to play on the.
But you came to play for Young Stars.
I played for Young Stars, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a pity that
I'm actually quite glad that I didn't. That I came so late by the time that you just retired, because I mean you.
But then I want to tell you something. I followed your rugby career. Because I then saw potential, and you reminded me very much of Nazim Morat from Paul.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's also a compliment. Thank you.
Look at that. Nazim Morat was a formidable rugby player. I think he's the father of Salman.
Yes. Well, you can see that's in the genes,
because you had the same mold, man. You had the same height. You almost look alike also. So, I always watch your games and so forth, but I knew you were going to make, a Saru team, or you're going to make a province team. So it was inevitable.
I tell you, I played club and I was at Tygerberg, but I played Tygerberg B.
Okay.
So you can imagine coming to Western Province after
Right.
having been in the Tygerberg fold. You know, you have that thing about the Aslam, the 1,000 brothers that you now you're going to go play against them at club level. But you know what? I needed the challenge. I needed that thing, and I said, no, Western Province, that's it. That's where I want to go.
Yeah, now a lot of people, I remember that we played against, eventually came to play for Province. Even Vineyards. You know, when we played against Vineyards, 1 or 2 games, they came to play in the Province team. That's why Ghalib and all those guys came to play in the Province.
Okay.
Funny enough, even the city guys. I remember in my time, you know, there was a guy that said, Keke, we are going to show Province what we can do it. But he came from Province and he went to cities.
Yeah.
And that was his last game.
Wow.
When he
okay.
played against Province, he was selected to play in city. He never played again because he made a vital mistake to say he was going to show us.
Yeah, you don't
you don't do that.
So my one of my greatest regrets is the fact that I never saw you and your era play.
Yes.
You know? The only thing that I saw is I saw pics of you, and the one thing that stands out, like I can see that picture, is you running with the ball 2 hands.
Yeah.
With the ball 2-handed and looking for, and that is
For
an
my
image
for my player.
looking for support. That is an image. I never listened to the enforcer aspects of the thing. That is the image that stays in my head, because it takes a skillful player to be able to run with the ball 2 hands.
Really?
And still, it's a skillful player, Aslam.
Thanks.
To be able to run with the ball. Like, there is one pic, I have that pic, I must actually send it to you.
Yeah.
I have that pic where you're running at full flight.
I saw
with
that.
the ball in 2 hands in front of you and looking for support.
And the number 8 was running next to me, Martin, Shahid Martin. The guy running next to me there was Shahid Martin. He was the number 8 forward.
Now, I
broke away. Yeah.
I would have loved to have played with a guy like you.
Yeah.
In a team.
I always played with good flankers. Okay. And I regarded you as a very good flanker at that time. Because if I knew I had a good fast flanker with me,
that can get through you.
I very seldom come out of a scrum the first time, because you as a second row player, you're a little bit tied up.
Yeah.
The number 8 comes off, then only can I come off.
Yeah.
But the flank forward, did you play open flank, inside, outside
Well,
flank?
I played mostly number 8 when I moved from lock.
You see, so I would have played with you a lot.
Yeah.
I would have played, because I would have been a breakaway lock forward. Because I used to love running, but I think I would have been a better rugby player if they didn't concentrate so much that I had to be the enforcer.
Yeah.
I always said to me,
I think they did you an injustice.
They did me an injustice, unfortunately. But when you know Britain, when you're playing in a Western Province side against provincial sides, my outlook first, I was going to see who is the person that is the game. That controls the game. Who controls the game? Who's the game player here? Or who is the strongest forward in that team? Then that person, I need to guard him. I need to neutralize him in a way, in a nice way. I got to then we will play rugby. Because if you put a little bit, scare a little bit, then they don't touch ball. Then our players can play. Player like you, as a flank forward, you would have enjoyed yourself, because we would have had those ball all the time.
I would have.
Yeah, you would have enjoyed yourself.
You know, there's this. You must now be as you part of this project that we're busy with now.
Right.
And so we're dealing with players and people from all provinces throughout the country. Right. And there's literally 2 to 3 names from everybody in the old non-racial Saru fold that is uppermost in people's mind. In terms of currently still with the people from our generation, and the 2 names that stands out. Number 1, I think we cannot dispute it. The number 1 person that people will always talk about and revere is Sally Fredericks. And then your name comes in as number 2.
Really?
Yes. not for the fear aspect, but as a rugby player that took no nonsense.
Yeah.
A no nonsense rugby player that people could depend on. And you know what I always say? I've played now on various teams. I've played on various sides as well. The one thing that I can say is what you also brought forward a little bit earlier on is that team spirit that was there in the province team. That is what made it so nice to play for the Western Province.
Yeah, now when you made a Western Province side, then listen, I've made it now in the rugby. As for our rugby was, we couldn't talk about Springboks, we couldn't talk about world this and that, but our rugby there was about Western Province, Tygerberg, Eastern Province, Kwaru. Now, when you've played against people like Kwaru, Themba Lubwana, Archie Makele, then you know you've played against, then you've played against great rugby players.
Yeah.
So yes, I come out of that era, but I would have liked to have played against you.
As would I have. As would I have.
I wonder if we would have sat like this, after we played against one another.
Now my question is, we would have loved playing with each other on the Saturday, and when we had to go play against each other on the Sunday, things would have been completely different again.
I want to bring up something. There was a time when I played against a fellow Western Province flank forward called Badarun. Ismail Badarun, yes. Right? He played in, I think he played for this, Charlie Frederick, what's his team name?
He was the captain of the South African Coloured Rugby Board team as well.
But when we play in the Western Province team, then he's my favorite teammate. I watch him because he was brilliant. He was the fastest flank forward that I've played with. Then one day we played against a club side. Then I'm talking Kalk Bay Marines against their club side. And I got hold of him. I got hold of him here near the try line where he wanted to score. And I said, how's your mother, how's your father, and how's your Uncle Ted, and I looked at him. He said, nee, my broer man, ze weet aan, ons speel saam. Ons speel aan in die province. Ek sê, but kyk, dis die province. So I greeted him, Yes. I greeted him, and after that we played Western Province team again. 2 weeks later we were in one team again. Now we brothers. Now here's the camaraderie. Yeah, you can never break us up in Western Province. We come from different clubs. Now, the minute we are selected for Western Province, we are like gladiators. We go play anywhere in South Africa with any team. Yeah. And you know how the teams fear to come and play on the track because that was the house of pain.
Yes.
They don't come there just because they love to come there. They are forced to come there.
My year before I joined Western Province, I was selected in the Tygerberg B team, and we played Province at the track. And that was my first selection, and I was on the bench, and for the B team, and I tell him sitting there, and I'm saying, "Oh, please God, don't let me have to go on."
Because you came from a team called Tygerberg.
Yes, Tygerberg. Yes.
I had my best games against Tygerberg. I used to love to play against Tygerberg. I used to love to play against Eastern Province and Kwaru. These were hardline rugby players.
You test your battle against the best.
Yeah, the best. I think the best within non-racial Saru rugby was your Tygerberg, your Eastern Province, your Kwaru. Yes. These were the formidable teams.
Poland, I think, came on later.
Poland later on, but there was really, not a. I don't want to say they were not contenders. They were there. But we used to test yourself. Yeah. Where are you in this rugby?
But nevertheless, it's an honor having you here in my house, and for us to finally have this chat.
I'm glad it could be on this friendly nature. I think if we played against one another, it would have been something else. Maybe I would have had an eye lost. Well, you would have given me something, a broken nose or something. But I enjoyed watching you play, and today it's a pleasure for me to sit in your home, meet your lovely wife over there, standing there. And shukran, I want to say to you for inviting me. Lovely eats and treats you gave me. If there's no eats and treats, really, that was a televisie.
No.
But again, we hope that we're going to have a good relationship, and I really wish you everything of the best with your venture that you are, trying to do, and that is to capture, again, the history of our rugby. All right.
Okay, wonderful.
So may Allah bless you, inshallah.
Amen. Thank you.
It was good to have you on the show again. The last time you were on our show was at the track when Vineyards played Collegians, and luckily Vineyards won that day. So it was a good omen. I know you were cheering on both sides because of the history.
Well, let's put it this way. I didn't know where to sit. My family is sitting on that side of the stadium, and my fellow rugby players that I used to be with, they sitting on this side. But at the end of the day, I was there to watch rugby.
Looking back on your career,
Yeah.
obviously you must have crazy memories of the track. You were someone that you were larger than life figure on the track. Even till today, when you speak to people and you mention your name and especially your brother's name as well, they always say that you guys were a larger than life phenomenon on the track. Being not getting the recognition actually, under your own people, everyone knows you were, but not getting the recognition. How does that feel? Being here today at this age, having to think back and say, look, your name is actually not there on the history books as it should be.
You see, I realize and understand why that is so. I was molded in rugby in the Western Province side to be an enforcer.
Yeah.
To be the person up front, to lead a charge of charges. And when you are in that position, you get those that love you and those that hate you.
Yes.
It was unfortunate that in my time, when the selectors were from clubs like Tygerberg, Eastern Province, and Boland and they were the ones that were going to select Saru players.
Yeah.
And I'm not the flavor of the month.
They wouldn't, because you obviously you intimidated the unions.
All the time. It was a problem for them. Doesn't matter where we played. Whether we played in Dal Josephat or whether we play on the track, wherever we played, I had the same intent.
Yeah.
I needed to be out there to show my team, listen, we fear nothing.
Yes.
We need to win here today, and that is it.
Yeah.
We need to keep our flag flying high all the time.
You had a job and a role to play, and you did it to the best of your ability.
I did. I hope I did so. Because my own team players, they also they were very much part of this whole, the force that we played with. We played with that intent.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for me, or unfortunately, I was always the one up front.
Yeah.
That the cameras catches.
And when did you decide, look, we all have a story of how we fell into rugby and eventually decided that this is a role you're going to be playing? Were you always a tough kid and you eventually just knew this was going to be your role, or how did it happen?
Now we're treading on dangerous grounds. I was slapped around in school.
Yeah.
I was very much a softie.
Yeah.
And I never knew ever that I would become, because my wife Soraya has passed away. She said to Butanwachi Khan, was the head of Western Province.
Yes.
She said, when I send you my husband, man, and I just got married to Soraya. She was about 15 and I was 20, 21. Yes. She said, when I send you my husband, he was a gentleman, but when you returned him to me, he was an animal. So I was never an aggressive person when I grew up.
Yes.
But I was very much a person that would go. I went on to work in Southwest Africa when I was 15 years old to go and learn a trade.
Yes.
I was very much alone, and I was with hard people, the Vambus, Herreros. I slept in compounds.
Yeah.
So I got that kind of life into me.
Yes.
And then going to work on the ship for SAF Marine, sailing for another couple of years, out there, sailing with, big people like a Globe Gang, if you know where the Globe Gangs are from, this District 6. You pick up certain things, but when it came to the rugby, it brought out another part of me. It brought out probably what was needed at that time. They needed somebody to, you had the great Sally Fredericks, he retired. And, when you have to fill the footsteps.
Someone needed to take over.
Somebody needed to take over. And I didn't only take over from him as a forward, I took his place as a number 5 jumper in the lineup. So I had to play two roles. I had to be able to play the game, not like him, but in the mold of a Sally Fredericks, but also to show that aggression. That listen, my guys, they can start mark of my man. We're not gonna walk away. But we got it as good as we gave it. It was as simple as that. It wasn't just Province or Aslam giving it all. No, they ganged up on me also.
There are legendary tales of the Old Western Province versus Tygerberg.
Now, Now we're talking.
Tell us a bit about those years.
You know, when I know that we're going to play against Tigerberg, it's like putting on my armor. And now I know I'm going to get Pete Zwooster, who is the go-to person for me. I always go for the person who is the playmaker, who is the one that is leading that team. I need to neutralize that play that he plays. And Pete Zwooster was my guy. So whenever we played against Tigerberg, and it was noted that there was going to be no 5 yards given. We played it as hard, we played it straight, but there was a lot of friendship in it. When we finish play, whether they're bleeding or I'm bleeding, it doesn't matter. We are friends again.
What is your most the memory that stands out the most of those years, especially the Province versus Tigerberg games? If you can think of a specific moment.
Yes, Florida Park. Not when I know playing Tigerberg on Dream Point, it was a no-brainer. They got no chance when they played with us there. Whether they played with us on Athlone Stadium, whether you played with us in Dream, no matter where you play with. When we play at Florida Park, now we got to deal with the spectators. That is their heaven. That is their ground, and you're going to play against their spectators. The spectators and Tigerberg on the field. This is a big challenge. So the challenge for us, for Province, and for me always was, what do I go? Do I pull out all the stops when I play there, or do I have to consider the spectators? Because if I rough it up on the field, and this is what the people want. This is what they want. Before I run on the field, I get my messages from my supporters. This is what you got to do today and that. But I've always had to be cautious when you play at Florida Park. Our lives was a danger because Tamir. Nou moet ek speak Afrikaans. Ons het ondraaglike toestande gespeel. It was difficult times.
And the game was different. There was a lot more was allowed.
Look here. Today you got the camera guy, you got the 2 guys on the sideline, and you got the referee. You got 4 referees. I'm sure that I wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes.
And you've got all the TV cameras on you.
I wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes. But in those days, listen, people expect you to be that or to do those things that we did. Because it was about, giving it hard and then make sure that you don't lose the game also. I know we lost games sometimes because of my over jealousness, going too hard at it, and then I give away a penalty and something. I regret those days, having to give away a penalty, but, I got my little word also in. So when you sit back again and your game is finished, you sit and say, I could have done better. And I do believe I would have been a better rugby player as a player if I was not so much, the task was not so big on me to lead a team. Now when you go and play against Kwaru on Dan Kwekwe Stadium, now you got 30,000 spectators that side. You got about 1,000 people that has travelled with us down with the bus. Now you must know you're in the Lions Den here, brother.
And you're outnumbered.
You're outnumbered, but we never, we played our game. We played it as hard as what they gave it to us.
If you look back on your career, any regrets that you have thinking back on your span? Because like we all know, your reputation was larger than life. You and your brother, and I grew up also wanting to be like you and your brother. I was also placed in that mold that I've got to be the enforcer. We played the same position. So I didn't see Uncle Hassan play, but I always had this vision as a kid that I want to be that guy. And now at 42, looking back on my career, I also sometimes think maybe I was a bit too overly aggressive at certain times, and I have a few regrets. Do you have any regrets?
I regret nothing. If I can have my time over again,
you would do it the same?
I'll do it the same, you know what I mean? Because if I look at the current Springbok rugby players, if I look at guys like Esterbet, there's no quarter given. I play as the game allows me to play. And then if I can take the upper hand on that, I do that. I take advantage of you, I will take advantage of you. That's what it's all about. That's the game. Rugby is not a game for the soft-hearted. Unfortunately, the way the game is now, the people jump over one another. In my time, if I had to jump over you, and you were laying on the ground there,
Yeah, right.
I will not be selected next week.
Yeah, you have to rock.
I've got to rack you. And those days I can rack you out like a rake.
Yeah.
You'll have 5 marks over you of my studs,
Yes.
which was legal. Today, if I just tackle you a little bit above your elbow, not even your
Yeah.
neck, then it's a penalty. It's this. You know, the game has really gone.
My late father once told me a story when he was a kid. He just got into Vineyard's first team and they played against you guys. And he also wanted to show that he's not strong. And then he tried to rack you or kick you at it. And he said when you saw it's him and you grab his foot, he said he ran so fast. He ran so fast he was going to hide behind his cousins and his uncles. Because he was panicking. He said, yeah, you saw him. He got so much fear because he said your reputation was so larger than life. And he wanted to show as a youngster, he's going to kick Aslam Taufi. And he said the whole game he was just trying to stay away from you.
No, I saw him. And I gave him the eye. But I really wasn't going to do anything because he was family.
Yeah,
family.
but
I'm glad he stepped out because I might have just got him accidentally again.
Exactly.
It would have been a nice thing because, you know, especially playing against Murats and those people, you want to keep it clean, but hard.
Yes.
Because tomorrow I've got to go to Paul.
Yeah.
I've got to eat dalsies and samosas there. And I got to be the family man.
Okay, Glasson, thank you for your time. I think in closing, any advice you can give to younger players who are coming up in your mold, try to be the enforcers in their teams?
I would advise anyone, the first thing, if you are a person that has like 6'6", 6'4", 5", you are going to be naturally, they're going to put you into that mold. First thing, make sure that your mind is right.
Yeah.
That you know the game, you're going to learn this game. And you're not just going to play the game with your 2 fists. You're going to play it with your mind, with eyes. You've got to read the game. You've got to know what to do, when to do it, and when never to do it. This is all I advise, the guys. So you've got to be a clever rugby player today. I think in everything there must be humanity. Even playing the sport, there's got to be, at some stage you've got to say, listen, I can't kill this guy now, but I can, put him on his place. So I advise him, get fit, play the game, play it hard, play it honest, be an honest rugby player, and then you'll go far. You'll go far. Because the opportunity is open now. Yeah. The opportunity to become a world-class player, Springbok player, world player, it is here now for our people. And I think the only sad thing for me is there's not enough attention given to our people in the townships, in the schools, our rugby fields. Before children there's hardly any rugby fields in the schools. Where do we apply our game? How are we going to get players coming to the standard of become a great Springbok player? Very difficult for us. So I think those that is in authority, Tabi, they need to look at this. Don't take a player from a school because he's got potential. Now you put that player into a better school so that he can get some bursary. But you leave the whole school behind. Why don't you develop the players there? Why don't you develop the schools? Why don't you develop their fields? Bring them physical fitness, bring them coaches, bring them TV, bring them up. But this is what is happening. They cherry pick here, there, and then only that player. Sometimes the player makes it doesn't make it. But what they leave behind here, there's no development. So now I think it's up to us now who's been players, we need to put our backs into this to see that indeed there must be some form of development so that our people can be developed and become, like the rest, the upper echelons.
Shukran, Uncle Hassan, for your time. It was good. Nice to have you on the show.
Thank you very much. Shukran.
In next week's episode, we visit the studios of Afrikaans radio station Paul FM, where radio presenter and owner Lyndon Jafta interviews the Village Kai Paul host Miles Manara. We do the reverse as Miles interviews Lyndon on his TV show. We end the day off with a late lunch at Paul's iconic Taal Monument.
Thank you for watching this episode of Prime Culture. Tune in next week, same time, same place.